Zootopia is absolutely packed with hidden details, but most people completely miss them on their first watch. But after all these years, I'm making this video because the animators have explained some of the deep references and inspirations that flew over all of our heads. It left me amazed and totally impressed. And now the movie hits even better on the rewatch. Starting with the #1 most genius moment of super subtle animation that nobody's talking about nearly enough. Welcome to Animation Hustle, the place where we dive into the funny and untold stories behind your favorite animated movies and TV shows. If you're a fan of animals or Disney animation, this is just way too cool. Because you probably didn't realize it, but animating animals doing human things is actually really hard, especially when you still want them to feel like animals. For example, animating the same action looks totally different depending on if they want to highlight the animal side or the human side. Like on the left, you can see how Judy's eyes and pose all make her feel more like a real rabbit. Meanwhile, on the other side, they tone things down and focus her eyes and expression, which makes her feel more human-like. The lead animators on the project show just how complicated all this can be, because for every animal in the movie, the animators had to study their unique movement style. But the thing that makes Zootopia's animation special is how they applied that research in a totally new way. You see, eventually the Disney animators found that perfect mix of human and animal by adding animal movements in really subtle ways that kind of go under the radar. Let's take a look at some of my favorite examples. So in nature, wildebeests are actually kind of dumb. And while on a research trip to Africa, the animators noticed that wildebeests don't cross a river until someone in their group is stupid enough to go across first. Even if there's alligators or other predators around or in the water, one guy is always stupid enough to go first. It's a little funny natural detail that they decided to include in the movie. In this scene, it's super quick, but notice how no one crossed the street until this guy goes first. And #2, while studying weasels, the animators noticed that they have really frantic and energetic movement. So they used that as inspiration to animate this character, the most cartoony in the entire movie. And some of his scenes are so fantastic to go through frame by frame. And #3, Chief Bogo was one of my favorite characters. And if you watch him very closely, you'll notice he has this really intense stare. He's always staring at people. It's really intimidating and really scary and perfect for a boss-like character, but there's also a real-world inspiration behind it. That's because in real life, this buffalo, as a warning, is known to stare down anyone that comes too close. But those weren't the only characters that are influenced by real-life animal movement. But I'm gonna let the animators themselves explain more.
So, like with this moose eating this branch, like instead of, in our version, he's actually got arms kind of like we do, but instead of having his arm come up to feed himself the popsicle like we would, we're looking at this reference and we're saying, well, really, his neck is coming down to the food. And so we tried to do this test where he's holding the popsicle and then his head comes down to it and you see his tongue grab it.
We have one of our characters, a cheetah, all Hauser. They're amazing animals, and we got to see them in one of our parks here running.
Yeah, the cheetah run they're so fast. They have these like piston-like, legs, and their head, you'll notice that their head stays really still as they're moving across. But our cheetah is a little bit different physique because he's not out there chasing prey, and they've agreed not to eat each other, so he chases donuts instead. But you can see, even though he's a bit rounder, we're still trying to keep the quality where his head is very still as he moves across.
The way they included animal movements is really cool, but that's not everything that makes Zootopia's animation so great, because they also found ways, of course, to make these animals feel really human. And this is where it gets really cool. Obviously, there's a lot of emotional moments in the movie. You got scenes of happiness, sadness, even extreme terror, all expressed in a really human way. But if you look in the background of scenes, the animators made sure that the characters felt alive, and as a result, they behaved in the most relatable way. For example, take a look at Nick's graduation scene at the end. I know it's quick, but in the background, the animator made sure the faculty on stage moved with personality. What's cool about this guy is he was a 2D animator as well, so even though he finishes his scenes in CGI, a lot of them start as simple, rough 2D pencil tests, and those are really cool to look at. He was a major part in making sure Zootopia felt like a live, active city, because he was dedicated to making sure each character was filled with personality and had a story. So for the Nick graduation scene, he animated these two faculty members talking to each other and making jokes because he assumed, because they've been around for a while and these graduations are kind of boring. Meanwhile, this character he imagined as a more newer faculty member who is more excited about these graduations, so she's more in the moment. And those tiny subtle details just make everything so much better. Zootopia is a classic, and obviously it's great Disney animation. All the research that went into the animation is absolutely incredible, and Zootopia 2 has just more animals, so I can't wait to see how they incorporate all these different details into the new movie as well. Between you and I, there's something about Zootopia 2 that I can't ignore, and I just have to share it. I have this crazy theory about Disney movies, and I can't believe we let this go unnoticed for all these years because something's been hidden in plain sight, and it's even in the new Zootopia movie. Let me explain. When you watch enough Disney, you realize the animators absolutely hate turtles, and it's hilarious. Now, I first noticed it here. This seems like a fun song, but not for this guy. Look at this. He's minding his own business, then gets absolutely wrecked for no reason. Disney's first movie had the best example of turtle abuse because the animators did not hold back. Like, what did he do to deserve this? In another movie, this old turtle gets disrespected and yanked by his shell. So when I saw this really cute turtle in Robin Hood, I got nervous. But luckily, he survived, mostly unharmed. But this is where things get even better, because this tradition won't die. Now this guy got to relax in his scene, and it was honestly kind of boring. But after taking a break from turtle violence, it looks like it's back and better than ever in Zootopia 2. So all these subtle details make the movie super rewatchable. If you know animals and their behavior, you can definitely pick up on a lot of this stuff. But one of my favorite details is actually something you wouldn't know unless someone on the production told you about. Remember the scene towards the end where Nick and Judy are making up after their big fight? Well, the director explained the origin of a background detail in that scene, and I just love it so much. So even though Zootopia is a classic now, most people don't realize that making it was complete chaos. The original idea for the movie was super simple.
When I pitched this, it was called Savage Seas. It was a James Bond spy movie where the lead character was a spy jackrabbit named Jack Savage. And I had this big plan to make many films called Savage Seas and Savage City and the Savage Earth, and it was going to be freaking cool. And I think because there had been a lot of Bond movies out at the time, I think people were kind of burned out on the spy thing, so they said, the spy thing's not super interesting, but this first act that you have where the jackrabbit lives in this all-animal city feels like it could be the whole movie, so why not consider making that the whole movie? So I said, sure.
But things quickly got out of hand as they tried to perfect the story. A bunch of different versions of the script were written, so the story was constantly changing. And it turns out, at one point, the main character, Nick, was going to have his own amusement park. And the animators and artists went absolutely crazy, designing tons of hilarious animal-inspired rides and attractions.
We built every inch of it, and it was all supposed to look like, not just like a random machine-made theme park, it was supposed to look like a handmade theme park, like someone built it from scratch, which is the hardest thing to do in CG. So we had people who worked for an entire year building this incredible set, and we cut it out of the movie.
They changed the script, and at the last minute, this location was cut.
It's gone. We just had to chuck it out, and we had to break it to our crew, who had taken a year of their lives to put their work into this amazing place, and say, it's gone. And that's typical of what we do with these films. It's true of Pixar as well. Like, they'll throw out huge ideas when we make changes like that.
But they found a way to sneak it into the final movie if you look really, really closely in the background.
And in the movie, if you look very closely, it's only in one shot of the movie. There's a scene toward the end of the film where Judy is apologizing to Nick in this sort of abandoned tunnel down by the river, and up on the hill is an abandoned warehouse that you'll see with the windows cracked, and that is Wild Times, the most expensive backdrop ever created for a Disney film. So I hope that if the movie does well, that we can come back and we can actually find a place for it in the next one. But it was awesome. It was awesome. It's like, anyway.
Each time I rewatch Zootopia, I find something new. Like just the other day I was watching it and I realized the streetlights in the rodent town are actually made of little Christmas lights. And that's why I just love this movie so much. If you want to see more behind the scenes animation videos, check out this one, and I'll see you guys in the next one.